Shira 2018 is a fantastic show. I've run through it 3 times and am planning on a 4th. And since then, I've done the arduous work of trying to convince everybody I know to watch it, which has actually been easier than expected. But I realize people have their doubts about shows maybe outside their typical roster, so for anybody that has doubts, I'm here to tell you why Shira is worth your time. You may have seen this going around. Catgirl, tall blonde lady with a sword, though sometimes she's a smaller girl with a sword and a spiky red jacket. What's up with that? Shira and the Princesses of Power is a 2018 reboot of an 80s show meant to sell toys, and turns it into a worthy successor of Avatar's style of kid-marketed show that will make you think and feel and possibly go insane with its emotional intelligence. Without too many spoilers, Shira is about Adora.
Hey, Adora.
An 18-year-old girl who pulls a King Arthur and finds a sacred sword that turns her into Shira, a 9-foot-tall mystical warrior with beach waves. There's a war between elemental magical princesses and the unambiguously named Horde, an evil army hell-bent on conquering the planet, headed by better-haired Deadpool and guy whose name sounds like Horde.
Lord Hordak.
Beyond that, you're just sort of thrown into the story as it goes, but you figure things out as the characters do, and it's honestly not too much to learn. Now, evil Horde versus magical princesses seems like it would lead to boring black and white kids show morality, but that's actually not the case. Both the Horde and the Princess Alliance have nuance to the motives and choices of their members, and most of all are shown as people, capable of good and terrible things, which leads to really humanizing moments on either side. Now, there's the ubiquitous disclaimer about rough first seasons. Season 1 of Shira isn't bad by any means, but it does take time to get started. I'll be honest, I personally wasn't even hooked on the first few episodes, but there's hardly a show that I can say I was. Season 1 starts out feeling like a series of one-offs, but here's what I think. By episode 8, you'll be intrigued. By episode 11, the show will have proved what it'll do at its heights. It's a pretty breezy watch. The second and third seasons are really one season, split into 2 sets of 6-7 episodes, making Shira's 5 seasons more like 4, each around 20 minutes. But there is so much packed into those 17.5 hours of content. The show is set on Etheria, a completely different planet with Miyazaki-like forests and on-the-nose naming trends.
What kind of name is Adora, anyway? It's like, okay, I get it, everyone loves you.
It's in the name. Net. Tassa? Nets. I toss nets.
While the art style isn't as detailed as, say, Avatar, it does get its moments, especially in the landscapes, which are just absolutely stunning. There's this kind of ode to the 80s roots with a smattering of pink and blue and neon set pieces that just bursts with color, like, look at this. It's nice. But really, the reason we stay hooked on shows is the emotion, and oh boy, does Shira deliver. What's interesting is that the protagonists are older. They're still written for DreamWorks, but they're 17, 18 at the start, and 20, 21 by the end, which makes for less of a coming-of-age feel and a slightly older finding your purpose feel, which, as someone closer to that age, I found really enjoyable. Each season successfully ups the stakes without feeling forced or bloated, which I have to commend them for because it's so easy to do that in such a free-form fantasy world. So much of it works because it's character-driven, most of the plot consisting of exploring the characters' evolving thoughts and feelings and propelled by the choices they make in kind. And most of those are due to relationships, which are at the core of Shira's storytelling momentum. The central one is between Catra and Adora, 2 childhood best friends turn enemies, and maybe there's also something else going on there. In addition to that, Shira introduces us to a plethora of dynamics we don't usually see, and it's in no small part due to the fact that the cast flips usual dynamics on its head with its 95% or so female roster, effectively slamming the Bechdel test into hot concrete. It's also genuinely really funny, and you get the sense that whoever worked on it had a ton of fun doing so. It boasts a surprisingly gilded voice cast, including AJ Michalka, yes, that AJ Michalka, Daniel Day Kim, Lorraine Toussaint, Jordan Fisher, and Sandra Oh? The voice acting is really, really good, expressive and fun, and makes these 2D MS Paint figures feel like friends. It's so charming and honest and human, which is notable because some of the characters aren't. One is a scorpion. The other is... she's a cat. She's just a cat. Sure, but magical princesses, isn't that for little girls? First of all, young girls are awesome and have great taste and have always been at the forefront of fantasy and sci-fi trends. Second of all, there's intended audience, and there's talking exclusively to that intended audience. Shira is the former. The show can be enjoyed by preteens, and it can be enjoyed by teens, adults, and anyone who enjoys good storytelling. There have been movies apparently aimed at adults that I've found lacking in the emotional substance that I love in Shira. It's all subjective. In its 52 episodes, Shira poses questions like, how do you repair broken trust? How do we reconcile different perspectives on the same truth? Does past conditioning inform who we are, and how do we make new choices? Do someone else's expectations define you? What does it take to heal from trauma? All within an engaging fantasy backdrop. Shira has this soft magic and lore system that works completely to its advantage. Like, yeah, there's princesses and runestones and sorcerers, but the technical bits of their power aren't ever explained, which gives the whole world the sense of mystery and otherworldliness, making Etheria seem ethereal. Like, yeah, some people are animal hybrids, and it's self-aware of some of the ridiculousness inherited by its 80s roots, self-referencing, but not in a distracting way.
Maybe it's that little poof thing you do with your hair, or how much it draws attention to your gigantic forehead.
Finally, the music. I have to talk about the music. The music in Shira has no right to be this good. It's this perfect mix of synthy 80s tribute in the action sequences and more typical orchestral bits that absolutely rip your heart out. This person, whose name I'm afraid to pronounce so terribly this video gets blocked, did a phenomenal job sonically tying the show together and making me feel unhinged at the sound of like 2 piano chords. But for real, the leitmotifs are gorgeous and a functional narrative organ as much as the dialogue itself. Also, half the tracks make me want to be swallowed by the earth, and she owes me emotional reparations. All of these elements harmonize together to create a product that feels incredibly cohesive and extremely rewatchable. Trust me. I know. If you give it a try, there's a good chance Shira will be one of those shows that sticks with you for a long time. If someone sent you this, it means you should watch it. And if you've already seen it and you're watching this for fun to confirm things you already know, do it. Watch it again. You know you want to.
This is my friend Adora. She's also sometimes an 8-foot-tall warrior woman named Shira, so don't get freaked out when it happens.
Hi.